If anybody had any confusion, they can see it. So if you click on the link which is there in the chat already, this particular page will open up and you'll get the option to enter 3 words. So you can enter the 3 words, whatever you think relates to matrix organization, and then you can click on submit button. So after another 5 minutes, we'll see how it looks. So you can see the link on the chat, what was shared yesterday. We'll wait for another 2 minutes. 5 more people have to join. Anybody who has joined just now and has not filled the uh, voting option yesterday, so they can just fill it up now. Click on this link and vote 3 words which you associate with matrix organization.
Yeah, sir. Good afternoon, Vidya.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, sir. I think we can start. We have most of the people.
Great. So I hope everyone has done their voting. Now we'll just see how it looks like. All right. So as of now, this is how it looks. Anybody who is already submitted and it's not appearing, they can let me know. I'll just refresh the page then. So we see a mix of negative words and positive words. So there's complexity, complex, stress, silo, loaded. Then some positive words, teamwork, common goal, focus. So we'll keep coming back to this during the presentation and see how these negative emotions have been overcome throughout the presentation.
Actually, sorry for the interruption.
Yeah.
This words related to what? Actually, I'm not joining.
So yesterday I had actually sent a link. You can go to
Yeah,
the chat.
I saw the link.
Yeah, so people had in the whoever's participating in this session, they had given some words. Some people give 1 word, some people give 3 words. That is what they associate with matrix organization. So now, since we have a mix of negative and positive words, throughout the presentation, we'll see whether we are able to overcome those negative words by the solutions being proposed.
Okay, the word related to the matrix organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You can always keep interrupting me like this because I don't think we'll have much time in the end of the session. So if anytime anyone has any clarification, they can just interrupt me and ask for the clarification.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. So going into the presentation, yesterday Haribabu sir had splendidly covered the day one topics. Your team was lucky that one of the topic owners happened to be your department head, so he was able to give you a lot of examples from within the organization. And now in the day two, as Haribabu sir had told a lot of times, we'll be covering the matrix, the RACI matrix that will be used to overcome some of the flaws of the matrix organization. Then we'll go into how communication plays a role in matrix organization. Then some secret tips on how to get your performance evaluation upgraded in the matrix organization structure. Then finally, how to thrive in this organization structure and be part of a culture which performs in this kind of a structure. I'll start off with a story. So this story is from a time at L&T Wells around 1 year ago when we didn't have any matrix organization structure. So this particular incident happened when there was a very important job to be done and everybody was asked to do. So there are 4 people here: everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. So everybody was asked to do an important job. Then everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, and in the end, nobody did it. So somebody got angry and about that, and because it was everybody's job, everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. So I think this sounds like a very familiar thing which keeps happening, and I hope in the last few months this kind of incidences would have reduced. So now going on to the main topic, Racy, if anybody has done the PMP certification, they would be familiar with it. Anybody here has done the PMP certification? Okay, looks like nobody has done it, but if you ever go for the PMP certification, then this topic is so important there that you'll get so many questions, and this will help you even in when you're going for a PMP certification. So there's a double advantage of going through this topic. So the RACI stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consulting, and Information. Basically, what happens is there's a like how we saw in the previous story. There's a lot of confusion that who will do which work and what. Now, in many cases, you have a doubt that if something goes wrong, who is accountable? Because I have 2 bosses, and somebody should take the accountability. The responsible person will be you yourself, and the accountable person will be one of your 2 bosses. So now this RACI matrix will help you find out which activity will be which activity will hold which of your bosses accountable for it. So we'll when we go through examples, it'll become much more easier. And consulting is basically if one of your bosses is accountable, then most probably the other boss will just be giving you consulting or guidance on the topic. And finally, informed will be like some of your boss's boss who need not be consulted, but you should always keep them informed about what is happening. So this is how a RACI chart looks like. You would want to give some attention to this because once this is over, you all will be doing activities based on this chart. So there are all the people, various people involved with the task come on top, and for doing that particular activity, you have to divide it into smaller tasks so that it is easy to manage. So for each of the tasks, then you will have to identify who will be responsible among those people to do the job. So responsible means the person who is actually doing the job. Then there would be a task which you will ask somebody for guidance. So that will come under consulting, and then sometimes there will also be an S. That time it will be called RASCI, RASCI. S means supporting role. For example, if you're doing a pre-sales job, then estimation might be supporting you with that activity. So neither are you consulting them for information or just informing them, but you are actually taking their support to do some work. So in that case, you can also put an S. And then R, responsible, and some task, very important task, if it goes wrong, then you need somebody to hold accountable for that task. Usually people, the bosses will take the accountability. They wouldn't want the subordinates to get firing for a mistake, because they would be the final person who will tell that whatever work you did was fine or not. So if they told what work you did was fine, then that means they are taking accountability for it. Now that you know all the pieces RASCI, then we can see uh, some of the how to create that RACI matrix. First one is to identify the work process. So start with the high impact areas first. Uh, to get some confidence, you'll usually want to start off with some high impact work areas for that particular activity, so that as you do the important tasks, the momentum will build up and the remaining tasks will get over very easily. So then determine the decisions. If when you determine what all decisions have to be taken, you will be realizing whether it should be the functional boss or it should be the other boss who should be taking those decisions. If it is related to the customer, maybe the front sales will take the decision. If it is related to the pricing or something, most probably your functional boss will be the one in charge. Then you can make the list of roles and tasks involved. So these are the roles and these are the tasks in each of the roles. So this guides us how to create the RACI matrix. Every task should have someone responsible. If there's no one responsible, then that means no one is doing the task. So the first step of making a RACI chart is to put the R. So you put for each of the tasks, you find out who will be the responsible person and you fill it up. Then you put the A. So when you put the A, now that you have put the R, putting the A is easy. A will usually be the boss of R. And for that particular task, you need to see who is the expert, whether it is the functional boss or the other boss. After you have put all the R and A for each of the tasks, then you need to put the C and I. Some consulting, you might need to consult from the other boss. Sometimes you need to consult from some other department altogether. For example, if you're trying to get the price, then you might need to consult the supply chain head, or you might need to consult the operations head. So consulting, in such cases, those person will be the consulting, and I will be people whose opinion you will not take, but they are important people who need to know that what is happening. Sometimes I will also be in a scenario where the particular task the person may not have anything to do, but he might be doing the next task. So in that case, if you keep him in the information loop, then he will know immediately that when that task has finished and he needs to start the next task. So that's how you fill the C's and I's. Sometimes, most of the times, if you within pre-sales, you yourselves can call both of your bosses and you can fill this RACI matrix. But in case it's like a very complex, very big project or very tough task, then you can bring some independent facility like some OPEX head to come and help you with this, making the RACI matrix for that particular activity. So once the RACI chart has been made, you would have made it with you and your two bosses. But to get the buy-in and feedback, you can circulate it to the entire pre-sales team or sales team, so that even though they didn't make the chart, since you have shared and asked them for feedback, they will feel that they are also responsible for it, and later on they'll not conflict. Since it was clearly showing you for any particular task, you might have found that some unrelated person was responsible for doing it. Then by keeping him in the email loop, you will indicate it to him that he's supposed to do that work. So later on, there will not be any confusion. Once you get the feedback, you can again revise the chart. If somebody tells he's not responsible and he tells someone else's name and that person agrees, then you can put that person as responsible, and you can recirculate the chart. Whenever necessary, you can update it later on also. That's not a big deal. So now we are going to the exercise. There are three of them, so we'll divide it into team A, team B, and team C. I'm putting the links in the chat. So you can just, the first link is for team A, the second link is for team B, and the third link is for team C. I'll just tell who are the teams now. So team A will have, since there are 15 of us, we'll have like 4, 5, 5. So the first team will be Anjani, Dinesh, Haribabu, Jairam. Uh, then the second team will be Jones, Lokesh, M. Arun, Madan Kumar, and also Manoj. Then the last team will be Milton, Rohit, Shiva, Surendran, and Shiva. So you can click on the link. I'll just for showing how it works, I'll show one example. So you have there is a table like this. You can click on this move and then drag the screen. Once you drag the screen, you should be able to see task and roles. And you can drag and drop wherever you feel the person is supposed to be R and which person is supposed to be A. You can drag and drop it here. So you can start the activity. I'll reconnect after 5 minutes. Then one by one, we can see how the team has filled it up. You can, if you're in different locations, you can probably do a conference call. You can call by phone, connect with phone, and then discuss amongst yourselves and fill it up. Anyone has any query about the task? Okay, so you can begin the activity. Can you vote a captain amongst yourselves? Probably that captain can open that link and he can share his screen with others. In team A, who would like to be the captain?
We are discussing. We will come back shortly.
Okay, fine then. Okay, team B captain is Madan. Team C, can I know who is the captain? Alright, I'll just reconnect after 5 minutes. If any team has completed, they can volunteer and share the screen.
Yeah, sir. Once completed, we how to save it, or we can just close it. How it is?
Once completed, you can just leave it. I can see the changes anyway live.
Okay.
I think Team A and Team B are almost done. Team C is still pending. Team B is done. Team C, can you let me know if you're done or you want more time?
One minute, yeah, sir. They are working on towards it. Consulting and they're doing.
Consulting.
Team C will wrap it up in another 1 minute. All right, now we'll go into the analysis. So thanks everyone for participating. Going on to the first exercise, Team A. So what I noticed was you had gone. I feel that you went row by row. So you filled up one row completely, then you went for another row. But technically, how you should have filled it was go for filling R in first row, then R in second row, then fill A in first row, then fill A in second row. Then you have to fill the remaining C's and I's. So from the working point of view, that's the feedback. And as far as what has been filled in, I think it looks all right because as long as the people agree, then the matrix can go ahead. Because some people, if you bring in some expert, he'll give a different opinion. He'll tell, since engineering manager is responsible, maybe sometimes his boss, engineering head will be accountable, things like that. But as far as what you filled, if everyone agrees with it, then that's fine. Because usually the project manager will be held accountable if status is not given. So engineering manager will not get much flack for that. And another good thing about this is that you didn't
Yeah,
feel
sir.
obliged to fill.
Are
Yeah.
you telling this for Team A? Because we had a different thing for Team A also.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
this
you
is
can go.
team B. No, this is team B. This is not team A. This is team
Sorry,
B
sorry.
screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, fine.
Yeah, yeah. See, he is just telling. You guys are right. He needs to tell for which team he's explaining, but he is explaining the way how the sequential manner you guys have made it. This is for Team B, I believe, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, got it. Thanks. And one more thing is Team B didn't feel obliged to fill every box. So that is right. Just because one box is empty, you don't have to necessarily go and give that person some information or consulting role because then you're delaying that task to be get over. If you keep him out of the loop, it's better sometimes. So that was right. One thing is if you would have kept the supply chain manager in information, then he would have known that since he is responsible to give the raw material status, he would have come to know that the task is getting completed whenever the engineering manager circulates some email that this work is completed. If he would have been kept in information loop, then he would have immediately started the next task. Since he's not in loop now, the project manager has additional work of finding out who's accountable and he will have to again send a separate email telling the supply chain manager to give the raw material status. So that was one input. I'll go to this one was done by team A, right? Team A, can you
Yes.
confirm this?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So team A was they had gone for all the R's properly. They filled each R one by one, so that was very nice. While filling the accountable thing, I think they filled one or two rows, then they started filling the C's and I's. So that should not have been done. Then seeing what has been filled in, uh, so the supply chain guy will be responsible for giving the rates, and his boss will be accountable. That's right. And you're keeping the pre-sales engineer informed, so that's also fine. Then estimate cost of component, you're giving responsibility to the costing guy, and the SCM he can consult the SCM guy. That's also right, and his boss will be accountable, and sales head is being kept informed. So that's also fine. Then add cost plus markup, you have given responsibility to pre-sales. His boss is accountable. Here there's an issue. If you are going to consult the sales head, automatically he's informed. So I think only C is fine. You don't need to put both C and I. Then evaluate code for market competitiveness. Responsibility has been given to pre-sales. They are going to consult the sales head. Uh, the boss is accountable, and SCM head is kept informed. All right. Any queries the team is having? Was there any confusion while filling it up?
No, yes, sir. Actually, you are fine. Actually, we're filling it up.
Okay, the voice is feeble.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. We were fine actually. We didn't have any problem in filling it up.
Now going for this one, uh, again there's a few confusion. Uh, I think the team uh, has filled R and A in the same box because if you give both responsibility and accountability to the same guy, then he'll be afraid to do the work. If the responsible guy knows someone else is accountable, he knows that somebody's got his back. So he can do the task freely, and most probably could have given the manager as accountable. Like in football clubs and all, if something goes wrong, then usually the manager is fired first. So you could have separated the RNA. Again, A and I can be separate. If this committee is accountable, then automatically they don't need to be informed because the decisions, whatever was taken for the strategy, the go ahead would have been given by the selection committee only. Then strategy for the match. Accountable is coach, responsible is captain, uh, vice captain is informed. Okay, this is fine. Then infield decision again. If the captain is consulting the vice captain, then automatically he's already informed. So I is not required. And post match review is also fine as you see fit. Think while filling this up, again the same issue is there. The A was not filled before you started putting in the other things like INC. So we should follow the pattern of putting R, putting then A, and then putting INC. And everyone has strictly followed the rule of having only one R in one row. But actually, sometimes you can have multiple R's in the same row. So if you feel that strategy of the match, both coach and captain are responsible and accountability is with someone else, then that's fine because then that teamwork comes. Both the R's have to form a team, and after being a team, they have to take decisions as a team, and the accountability will finally rest with only one person. So if you had any confusion or clarification while filling this up, you can ask that. Okay, if you're fine, then
No, it's clear.
great. We'll go ahead with the presentation. We can do some post-mortem analysis of how it was done. So if there is a way to analyze once the matrix has been filled up, whether it was filled well or not. One way is to do is checking it vertically. So you see column by column and see if there are too many R's. If any particular column has like 4 or 5 R's in a row, that means that one person is going to do a lot of tasks and he'll become overloaded. So you should ensure that such scenario doesn't happen and R gets distributed in many of the columns. So that is one analysis. Then no empty spaces. So if you see any column and you see in that column that person is not even responsible, not even accountable, not even for consulting or informing for any task, then you can automatically find out that person is not at all required in the activity. You can just remove that person's name from the column. Then if you find too many A's, that means there is one person very powerful in the company who is controlling everything. He's being accountable for everything. And if he's being accountable for everything, he might start making decisions very rashly since he has to make so many decisions and he'll have less time. He'll just tell okay for everything. So that's also not a good thing to have too much accountability with one person. So finally, if any column is not having any RNA, same like how empty spaces was there. If any person is only there for giving advice and consulting, then even such kind of person can be removed so that the activity doesn't get slowed down just because one person wants to be connected with every particular activity. We're going for the horizontal analysis. So in the previous one, we saw about the people. So each people we saw whether they were accountable or too much, that person had too much responsibility and so on. When you do horizontal analysis, you see from task point of view. So for example, if a task is having too many R, then like how we saw the story in the initially, everybody will think that somebody is doing, but in the end, nobody will end up doing it. That's why we should not have too many R for any particular task. We should have one, at most two or three, so that two or three will form like a team and then they can do the task together. Then if any particular activity is having too many consulting, then it will become like a roadblock. The R person who is responsible, he'll finish the task, but getting consulting with each and every person, each person will take like 5 days to consult, and the activity will get delayed, not because the task was not done on time, but because it was getting consulted with by too many people. Then finally, if there is lot of IE, then what is happening is you're sending mass mails to so many people, like you're keeping CC some 10-15 people, and all those people's time will get wasted because when the mail comes, they'll go through it, because in case some important information is there for them, they wouldn't want to miss it. So what will happen is you're wasting 10-15 people's executive time. So that's why you should not have so many eyes in a row. Only if people are really need to be informed about the task, you should keep them in eye. Then if any particular task is not having any R, that means nobody is doing the job. Only people are getting consulted, informed, somebody is accountable also, but nobody is there to actually do the job. So that's another thing you should ensure that each activity is having at least 1 hour. So continuing with the horizontal analysis, if there is no A, then nobody is accountable. So that means if the job goes wrong, nobody is getting punished, or if the job is done well also, nobody will be rewarded for it. So having someone accountable for the task is very important, or else the person who is R will simply just do it for the sake of it, and it might be done shabbily also. Then if there is no I's and C's, that means there is no collaboration happening. So like how we saw in one of the team's activities, they didn't keep the supply chain guy informed. So he maybe there's some ego between the two departments. That's why they're not keeping the other one informed, or it is making silos again. So that's why it's important that the relevant people are informed. Then every box is filled means each task is having too many people involved, and that task will again not get over anytime soon. So we should not needlessly fill. Again, the team B who had done it, then like I had told that time, they didn't fill up every box, so that's a good thing actually. So this is how the pyramid is a simple imagery. You can see that A should always be only 1. R can be a little more, but preferably again 1. Then consulting can be more. And even if you put the whole company in copy, it is not going to affect so much. It will not affect the task itself. Only thing, some people's time who are not needed to know that information, they'll end up wasting their time reading the information. So that's the only issue. So if anybody wants, they can just take a screenshot of this. It just gives a summary of whatever we have discussed so far. What each slide I had showed a lot of R's, no R's in it. So all that analysis has been summarized in just one line. Now going back to the starting of the exercise, we had seen that Menti diagram. So now there was confusion earlier, so the more people have used confusion, that's why it has become big. So earlier there was confusion that who will be responsible to do the work, who will be accountable. Now once you do the RACI matrix, whenever you are having a doubt that I don't know whether I should consult one boss or the other boss, I should get the confirmation of the work whether it is okay or not. Who is going to give me the go ahead? If such kind of a confusion is there, just make a RACI matrix and then bring both your bosses and ask who's the consulting one and who's the accountable one. You fill it up and circulate it so that later on when you finish the task, you can go to the right boss and get the approval, because the boss who is going to give you the approval is the accountable boss. You can remember sometimes in RACI matrix, they tell A is for approver. So both are synonymous. And some of the other points what we saw, the stress will go away. We saw that too many hours, if any person is having in the matrix, that means he's being overloaded. So from this, when you make the table and show it to your boss clearly that boss, each of the tasks I'm only responsible, can you give some responsibility to the other team member, then you can actually reduce your stress level. Then stress, pressure is the same word. Then ego, you will come to know what I had told. If you're the manager and if you feel that your subordinate is not communicating to the other departments, not consulting, then automatically when you make the matrix, you will tell him that see, for this particular activity you have to take the consulting of this department. For this particular activity you have to always keep this department informed. So automatically when the subordinate doesn't do it, you can show him the matrix that as per the matrix you were supposed to communicate, so please communicate to them. So the ego issue will go, the silo issue will go. Then what are the other points? So clarity, again, which is related to confusion, that issue will go. Then teamwork, what I had told about having multiple hours, you will know which people have to work as a team to finish the task. So now we can see that a lot of the issues coming in the matrix organization is getting resolved with the help of RACI matrix. If anybody has any clarification about this topic, they can ask now. Yeah, I'll share this slide for reference. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'll just move ahead to the next topic. So there is a small link.
Yasser, can I take 2 minutes of this before we move to communication organization? Because I just wanted to share something which is very relevant to the kind of an example what has been in place. Okay, I just want to show to the team. It's a kind of an example. Can I share it?
Yeah, that will be very nice actually.
1 minute. You guys are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
See, this is an example of one particular communication which is very relevant to a kind of an RACI matrix. This was an order which was backed by Rohit on the Aramco CPA order. When he got the information, when he got the order, he passed on, he entered into the system, and he communicated to all the respective people in the 2 of the mailing address. Okay, the CMT, design, quality, everybody has been given marked in that, so they have the information. Next thing, if you see, Rohit has very clearly told who are all responsible for what kind of a deliverable. Say, for example, Ramesh has to go for the NPD release of design, Ganesh Babu and Subbu for the drawings, for the quality person DKV to release the ITP, Chirag contract person to see the format and everything, and for TCN for a kind of information, this has to be get developed in China. So it's a kind of a I felt that it is a relevant email which will hold a position of RACI, because the departments are different. Design is there, quality is there, contract is there, supply chain is there, and who is informed, who is responsible for that. So I just wanted to show this good practice, which is already there, to make it much more efficient manner. So you guys able to understand, you can able to correlate what Yasser told and how it is directly interlinked with the our day-to-day work. You guys able to understand? Hello?
Yes, sir. That was a very good example.
Anyway, I'm just giving back to you.
Sure. I had one more small tip. It is not related to the topic, but what you had just shown now. So instead of just putting the name, there is an option to put at the rate. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can put the at the rate symbol and put the name. Then what happens is sometimes people, when the name comes in the 10th in the list, they'll not know that their name is there. But when you put this at the rate symbol, what happens when you send this mail, uh, instead of showing the first few words in the email, actually whatever is next to your name will be shown. So I'm sending this email now. So because I put an at the rate, you can see that one at the rate symbol is coming. So in actually it will show some other names initially, whoever was put. So if in the email it was Somashekhar, Prem, all those names will come. But since in the mail body something task is assigned to you, this at the rate symbol will come so that you never miss any task which has been assigned to you.
Wow, that's a good learning. This is also an example for a collaborative information. We learned it today. At least I learned it today.
Great. Okay, now coming back to the main topic. So I've just shared a link on the chat box again. It is a tool called Google Jamboard. So you can click on the link. If you're having any issue, just copy this full link and paste it in the browser. So once you paste it, you should be able to see this matrix org training. And what you have to do is you have to take a sticky note. Take the sticky note and type whatever thought comes to your mind about communication. You can keep typing throughout the session. So I'll keep going through the session. In that, whatever highlights your mind, you can just put that thought over here. You can see what was the takeaway you had from this particular session. So you can just save it. Then if you have any other sticky note, again, you can click here and you can just type whatever you want to notice or highlight to the other team members. In the end, we can have a discussion also why you wanted to talk about that particular topic, and you can share some learning with your team members if it striked you with some incident, like how Haribabu just showed about the email thing. Now, going back to the presentation. So when do companies tend to turn to matrix forms? So if anybody of you had gone through the Harvard Business Review case studies, you can just unmute and tell, or you can put it in the chat box. You can also open the article. It is the HBR article 1. You can open it and you can see when and get some idea on when companies turn to matrix. I'll just give you 2 minutes. If somebody wants to put it in that Google Jamboard, you can put it there also. If you have some idea which is not even there in the case study, then also you can just type it out here. So when do people turn to matrix org structure? Any ideas? Anybody can unmute or type here, or you can type in the chat anywhere. So, okay, the slide is visible. I'm sorry. I'll just go ahead then. So, people go for matrix org for one of these 3 things. One is when you need to be very quick. So, as you remember that when Mahesh Joshi sir took over the organization, he had told about being responsive within 24 hours. I could recollect one of the example Haribabu sir had told yesterday on how the quote had to be given to Middle East team Friday night LTH he told, and they wanted the quote on Monday morning. So there was a situation where it called for being highly responsive, and since it's a matrix org, sales is indirectly related to pre-sales, and now we got a very good response from the team. Since there was a functional relationship, Hariva Bhusa could assign more pre-sales engineer on this task, and the job could get done as per the requirement of sales team within 2 to 3 days. So one of the requirement is for being highly responsive. Then the second one is when there are a lot of uncertainties. Currently in our valve manufacturing industry, I think pre-sales team will know more than anyone else, since they know how many varieties are there while order entry and things like that. So we have a lot of uncertainties, and we get a lot of, every order is having a lot of information. Some is having RT requirement and different processing requirement. So that kind of highly in a highly uncertain environment requires matrix org structure. And third one is when they deal with strong constraint on financial or human resource. For us, this one is not applicable because we didn't adopt matrix to some companies. What they'll do, they'll tell one person that you take care of both pre-sales and project management. That person will get one boss as pre-sales, one boss as project management. So that kind of thing has not happened in our company. So the third point is not relevant. The first two is why we have gone for it. And the particular topic now I'm dealing with, communication in matrix org structure, deals with the first two. So now looking at the org structure, another point I wanted to highlight was you can see that the line thickness is same when it goes to sales and when it goes for operations. Sometimes in some org structures, there will be a dotted line. For example, engineering has a dotted line relationship to commercial. In this case, what is happening is the engine guy, for whatever work he does, the head operations is accountable. Only for consulting purpose, he can go for the head commercial. But in a pure matrix org structure, what happens is both the bosses are equally accountable. So that's why the line is same. And the communication between these two people, right now head commercial is weakened, so it should be head operations and the sales head should be very strong. They should be very aligned so that people in this group should not get confused, or they should not get two different mixed signals. Now yesterday I think Madan sir had talked about decision making, and he was right that decision making would be more complex in org structure. This is like a slider. As you go to linear org structure, the decision becomes easy because one person is taking one-sided decision which is comfortable with his function. But if you go to the right towards matrix org structure, there is a trade-off. Two different people are involved, and the two persons will have a lot of discussions, dialogue on. In the end, they will come to a either win-win or lose-win, or a compromise kind of a decision after discussion. So as you go from left to right, the communication is more. Since two people are involved with the decision, they'll talk more, and because of that, the decision quality will improve. It will not be made so that only one functional benefits. It will be such that a bigger part of the organization benefits from that decision. As you go from right to left, the decision speed is very quick, and it's kind of like autocratic. And one information to give here is when the company is in a crisis, actually the linear org structure is better. So if you remember when Basava sir joined initially, he had freedom to make whatever decision he wanted. So he initiated some PR process and lot of decisions which affected the whole company, because that time we were in loss and we couldn't afford to have like a lot of discussion before making a decision. So based on his past experience, Vasavara sir took a lot of decisions, and the company came out of crisis. Now we are profitable, and once we had come to a comfortable position, only then we brought in the matrix org structure. So right now you can see that Basava is not solely responsible for some functions. He needs to consult another function and then take decision. So since we are at a better situation now, we can afford to take a little more time For example, 2 years back, whatever order came, we were booking it left and right because we didn't have orders and we wanted to fill up our backlog. But right now, since we have a comfortable backlog, the operations head can negotiate and ensure that some orders, only like a little more profitable orders, are coming inside. So that's the trade-off between linear and matrix. Uh, the advantages are very obvious: increase information. So then better rate of interpersonal communication, decision making is better. If you want to read more about it, you can go to the HBR first case study, which is mentioned here. And another, what are the communication skills required for matrix managers? So we've talked about a lot from the point of view of the subordinates. Now, if you're a manager who's having multiple, you are having a subordinate, and there is another manager you have to deal with. So, if you people have any inputs on what are the skills, what are the skills such kind of manager should have, can you put it in the chat box? If any one of you read this case study, then you will get some ideas. Even if not, it's a very common sense question. So what are the skills a manager in matrix org structure requires? I'll wait for at least 3 to 4 inputs. Okay, Jones has told open line of communication. That's a good one, because if you are in a linear org structure, you can keep the communication closed off, because regardless of the other guy's opinion, you can take the decision. But in the matrix structure, you should have an open line of communication. You should always be available to talk with the other manager to make decisions. So that's a good one. More inputs. Americans need this Harvard Business Study to see and know information, but Indians are very smart. Without reading, they'll have the common sense and knack to know what to do. So I'm expecting more inputs. Yeah, the matrix manager will have to be very patient with the answer here, right? Because the other guy will be having a different opinion. They should listen to his opinion very patiently with an open mind. Some more inputs. Okay, then I'll just go ahead. So one important thing is now that there's a matrix org structure, naturally some people will be strong in negotiation, some people are weak in negotiation. The natural tendency in a matrix org structure should be to train people so that everyone are of the same skill level. So you should train and get strong in negotiation. And there are a lot of tactics to that, win, lose, and all that. There's a separate training session for that. So Vidyathi ma'am will organize some other day. But one important thing is there should be a mix of negotiation skills. So discerning skills, another input is discerning skills. So yeah, the person should be able to understand what is happening. He should not get swept away by politics. He should be able to understand what is happening and make out. So that's a good input. I think it's strong influencing skills. So if one manager is not able to influence the subordinate, and the other manager, he's very friendly with the subordinate, and with his friendly skills, if he's able to influence, then having the org structure of matrix becomes pointless. So if you feel that you don't have good enough influencing skills, then you can get into those kind of trainings and have a learning in that. There's a separate session for this also, Vidyathi ma'am will organize. Then the matrix manager should be empathetic. He should not overload the subordinate with all the work. He should know that there's another boss and he may also give certain work to him. So he should be empathetic with the situation of the subordinate. Then the person should have sufficient knowledge that he's able to talk cross-functionally. So the pre-sales guy should know what sales people do, and what sales guy should know what the pre-sales expertise is, so that he'll be able to talk about the subordinate, common subordinate. Then he should have conflict resolution skills. This also there will be a separate training in depth on this. And in a matrix organization, more than written communication, oral is very important, because when you start writing, it will become like an email war. So you'll start writing one email, the other boss will respond something, and the subordinate will end up watching what is happening. So in matrix org structure, it's very important to have communication. You should go face to face, and you should by talking. You might send one email one day, the next email the next day, and the decision can keep getting stretched. But if you meet face to face and you have a meeting, then within that short frame of time, you will be able to discuss and decide. So to read more about this kind of topic, you can go to this article 3 of this HBR case study. There's one more input in the chat about perseverance, so that's also a good one. You should not get tired of all this negotiation and influencing. You'll need a lot of perseverance to keep going at these kind of skills. Now, going ahead with the how to develop a communication plan. So now what will happen is you're having two bosses. The subordinate will get confused on which boss he has to keep informing, and how frequently, whether he has to put him in every email in copy, or whether he needs to keep meeting him in person and giving him updates. So having a clear communication plan can help in a lot of ways. So the communication plan is very similar to something called 3WH. That is a very famous acronym in Operation Excellence. It says who, what, when, how, and there is one more owner. So who is the owner of that particular task? So this 3WH you need to remember. Now this is how a communication plan matrix looks like. So you clearly mention what is the communication, whether it's the initial kickoff meeting or it's the monthly meeting, and then you put what is the reason for having that meeting. Sometimes when you're making the matrix, you'll realize that there is no purpose of having that meeting. Then you can just remove that meeting totally. Then medium, whether it will be conference call or in person or email. Then how frequently it should happen. Then who are the people who should attend, and who is the owner, and what is the deliverable after the meeting gets over, what will come out of the meeting. It should not be just a purpose of meeting and talking. There should be a clear MOM followed by the meeting, and some actionable item should come out of it. So this helps in both ways. One is it ensures minimum interaction is there between you and your boss. It will also ensure that your boss is not taking too much of your time. He does not keep asking you for a report daily. You can show that as per the matrix, you have to circulate report only once a week. So this kind of a communication plan will help you in not wasting too much of your time. We can go back to the initial Menti word cloud what we had made. So now you can see some of the miscommunication. Then mails is another confusion, word for confusion. Then overlap, two bosses. So this kind of some of the negative things what I mentioned here, even confusion. So normally you will not know who to inform what kind of information. But if the matrix plan tells clearly that your functional goals about pre-sales, sending quote within 2 days, those kind of information is supposed to go to your functional boss. And wherever there is issue with mismatch of quote value from previous quote, and that kind of thing should be communicated to the sales head, then that kind of a confusion will go away. So apart from the racing matrix, having a clear communication plan drawn up can resolve a lot of your issues. So yesterday Madan sir had asked another question about KPI. So having both the bosses having shared goals is extremely important. Now we'll go to the KPI of our own company. It's the insider tip, which is very useful for you. So this is how at the start of the financial year we draw up which leader gets responsible for which KPI. Normally, operations head will be responsible for profitability, sales head will be responsible for order booking. But because we have adopted a matrix org, what we have done is, for example, order booking, that goal is even going for Basava. So normally, order booking will not go to operations head, but to bring in, since the pre-sales team is reporting to both operations as well as sales, now the operations head knows that his performance will get affected if order is not booked. Same way, the profitability, which is usually operations head responsibility, now that responsibility is also going to all this sales head. You can see James, Movin, Prashant, then these kind of sales people are also having profitability as one of the target. Usually before the matrix architecture, what will happen, the sales team guy will tell that I want to book this order at any condition. Even if it is high MC, you book the order. My target is order booking. And the other side, the operations head will tell, I don't want this order. There's no use executing the order. There's no margin. Like that he'll tell. But now since both of their goals are aligned, while getting the order, even the sales head will try to get at least some good margin, and the operations guy will not unnecessarily block incoming order because it is one of his goals to get the order booked. He'll also see best possible way, even if the margin is still a bit higher, he'll make some compromise because he also needs to book the order. If anyone's having any query here, they can ask. Okay, if there's nothing, I'll just continue. So another important part of communication in matrix org is having trust. So one of the boss might be in vicinity, one of the boss might be in some faraway location. So even if there is no visibility, the other boss will trust that his subordinate will do his task as good as the one who is physically present along with the subordinate. Another good thing which comes out of this is there's no micromanagement. So if you have only one boss, that boss will keep a keen eye on you and he'll know everything you do. But in the matrix org, he knows that some of the work you will be doing, some of the time you'll be spending for the other boss. He'll trust that you will not abuse that time. And you can also trust the boss to not overload you with any kind of work. So this helps a lot in facilitating communication overall. So there's less hierarchy. For example, I'll go back to the how it facilitates communication. I'll show. So now before, if anything, if you have an issue with your boss, you'll go to your boss's boss. But now you have more options in case you're having any concerns which your boss is not able to resolve. Then you have multiple options. It facilitates communication. You can go to the sales side, then sales boss of sales guy will be chief executive. So it's helping you escalate even to the chief executive level, because from here only one level up is the CEO. Are you able to hear me now? Oh, are you able to hear me now? You can just, okay, great. So I'll just continue.
Yeah, yes, sir. We can able to hear you.
So what I was telling was earlier you had to go through multiple levels to reach chief executive, but now you have only 2 levels if you go from the new matrix org structure route. So now I'll just go back to the slide we were in. Now we had communication issues. Even in matrix organization structure, when you'll still have communication issues. But here are some plugs to overcome that gaps in communication. First one is obviously to adopt the matrix org structure. Then second one is to clearly define what is the reporting structure. And you have seen that first there was a overall org structure circulated by our chief executive. Then there was a little more detailed one circulated by our operations head. So the reporting structure was clearly shown. Then the roles and responsibilities of each person should be clearly defined. Yesterday, Hari Babu sir had covered covered this part. Then there should be a clear escalation mechanism. If the decision your boss is not able to take, then who will be the next person who will be taking it? Since you know the org structure, you know clearly how to escalate it in the organization. Then the information management system, we'll talk about this later, and I'll talk about in detail about the performance management system. So before we go into matrix org structure, can you tell me what are the things we should already have in place so that we can go for the matrix structure? If you had read the HBR article 4, you'll have some idea. If not, you can just put in chat even whatever comes to your mind. You can, if you want, you can open the article, read through it. I'll wait for a couple of minutes for you to write. You can put it in the team chat. So what should already be in place for the matrix organization to work? Yeah, Jairam has told that there should be defined functions. That's right. Anything else, anybody? You can keep typing as it comes to your mind. I'll just go ahead with the ones which are textbook important. One is to have a very clear vision. So only if there is a clear vision, it will be like a Bible to guide both your bosses when they have a small issue between them. So our clear vision is to have to become the most trusted valve company. So whenever there is any confusion, both your bosses will have to sit back and think, this is this what a most trusted valve company will do, and then they'll get their answer automatically. So this is very important, and to make highlight its importance, we have also put it as the first slide in any presentation. So every time people keep doing any presentation, they'll recollect that that is the vision of the company. The second one is to effectively manage human resource tools. So our HR team is capably using some concepts called high potentials, 360-degree feedback, and things like that. So using this high potentials, they're able to get the perspective of individuals and incorporate into the corporate goals. Then the third thing is to bring together all this individual thinking. If you remember when Mahesh Joshi sir joined the company, he brought together everyone in a hotel and they developed the overall strategy of the company. So that kind of activity, when everybody is having this kind of a shared strategy, then it's easy for people in the matrix organization who are like when the subordinates having different bosses, they'll have this overarching strategy in place to guide them on how to go about taking decisions. You can read more about these points in again this HBR Article 4. Now coming back to this juicy topic of performance management system. So in a matrix organization, who will appraise? Will your functional boss appraise or your matrix boss appraise? The answer is that the appraisal will be done with your functional boss, and I'll explain how the matrix boss comes into the picture in the next few slides. Then whose opinion takes priority? Actually, both the opinions are equally important. I'll again explain how that is so. And how is feedback provided during the year? So the feedback should not be provided only after the year is fully completed. There's one option called anytime conversation in the Milestone portal. So anytime during the year, you can seek feedback through that portal. So you don't need to wait for the midterm review. You don't need to wait for the end of the year. You can ask your boss anytime, and just to be on the same page, you can get this feedback. And later on, when the evaluation is done, you have a legitimate proof to show that this was the concern your boss had raised 9 months back, and throughout the last 9 months you have been working on that, and this is the end result. When you show that kind of a proof in your final appraisal review, it will be very clear that you have met your objectives, and you should be able to get a good rating for yourself. then how does an employee know when he or she is satisfying the expectations of everyone involved? So should we, you can decide whether you want to have a monthly meeting with both your bosses so that you know that you're satisfying the need of not only one boss but both the bosses. So usually when you don't have a matrix organization, you have this kind of a problem. So the supervisor might have a poor judgment because some people's goals, it will not be concrete. Luckily, pre-sales can make goals like within 2 days, they should make a they should release the quote. They can see the average time how much they're taking, and then it's objective. But in some cases, like strategy, it's very vague in product management. So you in strategy you cannot tell that I'll develop 10 strategies for the company. It's basically you'll develop one strategy, and it is up to your boss to tell whether it is good or not. It is his subjective opinion. But luckily, since you're in matrix organization, you are having two supervisors. If one of the supervisor is not a good judgment, he's not a good judge of the objective of whatever was your goal, the other supervisor can influence him and tell him that how it is actually whatever work you have done is good. Another issue is sometimes your boss in linear organization may not have knowledge, but luckily since matrix organization has two bosses, the other one might be knowledgeable, because it's very rare that in a company some both people who will be your boss ended up getting hired who didn't have knowledge. So even if one boss didn't have knowledge, the other one will have knowledge about your subject area, and he can tell the other boss that this even though you are not able to understand what work he did, he's actually done it in a very good way. The third one is a concept called personal bias or halo effect. What happens is one of the boss will have a preconceived notion about one guy that he's good. So whether he does the work good or bad, he'll always end up giving him good rating. And since there is a bell curve concept, you will be on the other side. You will since let's say if one person gets good rating, you have to get a bad rating, and you will consistently end up getting bad rating. But luckily, since you will be in the matrix of structure, the other boss can influence your boss and open his eyes that even though you thought that guy was good, if you see how much work he has done, you can see he did only like 50 quotations, but this other guy, he's done 100 quotations and bagged more orders. So he can open his eyes, and he can change around whatever consistently, even not getting good ratings. So this is another good thing about the matrix architecture. Some of the challenges which are there in the matrix architecture is that though your functional boss will be remaining same, if you are in one particular region, say APAC gets too few quotations, few very few offer requests, then and if Middle East is having too much load, then you will get transferred immediately to the Middle East region. So when that happens, the consistently goes away. So you would have been for 6 months with the APAC head, then 6 months with the EME head, and all the good work you did for APAC will go away, and the EME head will have too short a time to judge you. So that kind of challenge is there, but knowing the challenge is half the battle. So if you didn't even know the challenge, you'll not know how to overcome it. But since the challenges of the matrix architecture is made very clear to you, you can now think on a strategy on how to overcome this challenge. So another challenge is you'll not know. One boss will think that the other boss is giving you feedback, and the other boss will think that the first boss is giving you feedback. In the end, you may end up that nobody gives you feedback. So this kind of issue might happen. Then now your functional boss is having so many pre-sales engineers with you, so he can compare performance very easily. But unfortunately, the matrix boss will have only one or two pre-sales engineer with him, so he doesn't have a big data set to compare on how the performance is, how good you are. One way to overcome this issue would be that the functional boss shares the data of all his subordinates with the matrix boss, but that may usually not happen. Then the final challenge is going forward in your career. Should you specialize in your functional area or with the matrix boss? If your matrix boss is a sales head, should you start specializing in front end sales and move your career path to front end sales? So this kind of a confusion will be there with you. Finally, now we'll go from the other point of view. We've so far seen from a subordinate point of view. Now, how should managers behave in a matrix org structure? So first is like we have seen, there will be changing goals, and this matrix manager, the functional manager, will be responsible to ensure that even though the other boss is changing, he should ensure that there is a overarching theme which is being maintained. Then the matrix manager should come up with mechanisms to measure the performance, and he should also know the rating scale very clearly, that for 8 rating this is what I expect, for 7 rating this is what I expect. So he should have a very clear understanding in mind, so that when the time of appraisal comes, he doesn't arbitrarily give ratings. Then we should have multiple appraisers. So in this matrix of structure, he should be aware that he's not the only one. He should be open to the other appraisers' opinion. Then the employee profile he should keep in mind, because some subordinate will be manager, some will be he will be in engineer level. So he should keep the employee profile in mind while voting, because the what is expected out of them is very different. And he should also decide on the frequency of feedback, whether he'll give feedback every month or every week or once in 2-3 months. And he should clearly understand what kind of rewards he can give, what kind of recognition he can give, what kind of career progression he can give, so that he should not be in a position to give you unrealistic expectation when the other boss is clearly not in favor of promoting you, or totally in favor of promoting you. He should be understanding that there is another manager in place, and accordingly he should keep his commitments. So in the matrix of structure, what will happen is normally this is the screen how it looks. IS gives the rating, then IS gives his recommendation for promotion or not. But one additional thing apart from linear org structure, what happens is he takes the feedback of the matrix manager, and this feedback is recorded. So this gives the power to the matrix manager. Later on, if the matrix manager has given like a brilliant feedback for you, and in spite of that, your IS is giving you only 5 or 4 rating, then since it is all recorded in MyZone portal, when the MVG committee reviews it, they can see that the feedback has been given such and such way and by the matrix manager, and still his boss has given him lower rating. He can accordingly, then they can have a discussion with both and find out why this discrepancy is there, and eventually ensure that the work you have done for both your bosses is reflected. So this is how the appraisal goes. It goes to your IS, then it goes to your department head, and finally for calibration it goes for something called micro view group. It's called MVG, and it comprises of both not only in your IH was this guy, your DH was this guy, and so NS was this guy, and DH was this guy. And then in this MVG there is a fourth view. Now the person who is your boss's boss, he will be there, and also from the other side, who is from the other matrix organization, that boss's boss will also be there. So both of them will get an opportunity to see your rating, and ensure that being in a matrix organization didn't harm you. They'll keep in mind that you have worked for 2 people, and they'll ensure that your rating is accordingly given in a very fair way. We've covered the performance management part. If anybody has any questions, you can ask me now. If there are no questions, we are moving to the last topic. So how to thrive in a matrix organization. So we've seen first is to have a context why we went for matrix organization, which Hari Babu sir had covered very well yesterday, and Vidyati ma'am had also shed some light on why we went for the matrix org. Then second one is to have clarity. What is your goal? What is the org structure was clearly released. Then we also saw that to give clarity further on the roles and responsibilities, we have something called a RACI matrix. Then the third one is control. Like this one, I told that we'll have a separate training on that some other day. It will show there are so many different type of influencing. You can be an expert in the subject, and because of your expertise, your subordinate will respect you, or you will have influence because you are directly reporting to the chief executive, and because of that. That is called borrowed power. So like that different type of influencing, you'll have a separate training on that. And again, for the cooperation part, there's a separate training on how to avoid conflicts, and if there are conflicts, how to come into a discussion and negotiate to a win-win situation or a compromise situation, and so on. Then finally, community. Yesterday, Haribabu had started his session with a very nice example of considering two bosses like father and mother. So similarly, your both bosses are like father and mother, and your boss's boss is like a grandparent, and so on. So like that, you get a community feeling, and there is a there is a culture of nurturing. Finally, we had seen the communication, which is very important for the matrix structure. So we saw the communication plan, how that plan can give you an idea on how frequently to communicate, to whom to communicate, and things like that. And then we saw some 6 plugs on how to bridge the gaps which are coming in the matrix structure. This is one of the final slides. So the motivators for thriving. Now, this is to tell you why you should be in a matrix structure, and motivate you to continue working in this structure and not seek out other ones. If you go for any MNC environment, for example, GE started the matrix structure all the way back in 1970s. So that is when this particular organization structure became very popular, and after that, most of the MNCs in the world have started adopting it, because you'll have a overall global sales head, one guy, and then you'll also have a local sales head in your particular country. So you'll end up with a matrix structure where you end up reporting to both. That's why in a multinational corporation, matrix is the preferred method. And if you already have working in a matrix structure here, then it will be one of your selling points when any other MNC offers you a job. You can tell them that you worked in a matrix structure, and they prefer hiring you rather than some other local talent who worked for some local company. Then it will help build a larger network. For example, when you are in a linear relationship, you are only associated with your one boss. But because you are working in a matrix, you have another boss, you have another boss's boss, this boss's boss. So you come to know more people, and if you leave the company and if you want to come back to the company, you have more people who will be willing to vouch for you. So then more mentoring and learning. Instead of having just one boss give you guidance, now you have from both sides, you have people who can guide and tell you that how to do your work better, and they can give you more skills. Both of them can suggest training for you to the HR. So there's more opportunity for you to learn and get nurtured. Then finally, if one boss is overloaded and he's not able to hear your concerns, you can go to another boss and tell him what issues you're facing. So that's another good thing to be for in a matrix structure. Then since everybody knows that you're having two bosses, they will be lenient with you during appraisal also, because they know that you might have been overloaded by two bosses. So that's another good thing. Then this matrix structure is like a trade-off. For example, in a startup, what happens, you don't report to one guy. It's a very flat organization. So the quality head can equally give you work, the finance head can give you work, the operations head can give you work. It's completely flat. And in a very traditional big company like L&T and other Tata and all, it's completely vertical. It's always one guy reporting to another guy, that guy reporting to another guy. It's never horizontal. But the matrix stock is a very good trade-off between both the ways of working. It takes advantages of both and it takes disadvantages of both, and there are ways to overcome those disadvantages. So compared to most working styles, the matrix mode of working will be most beneficial. And since you're dealing with two bosses, their bosses, you'll end up having a lot of people management skills, because only when you have the people, when you learn this kind of people management skills, you'll be able to convince both bosses, or you can take the opinion of one boss and influence the other boss. So when you do all these activities over the years, you'll end up learning a lot of people management skills. So these are some motivators for you to thrive in this kind of organization. So I think that's it. We've completed the training right on time. As I had told, we won't have much time for Q&A at the end of the session. So we'll just see once whatever, if anybody has put any comments in that Google. So there's only one input, how Ramachandran sent that mail. I think you can take it up offline with him. So I think that's it. We've covered everything, but still, if any very important questions are there, you can send me an email. And if there's any question you want to ask someone else in the group now, you can just ask it now. So no more questions. I'll just see the chat. 1 minute. Okay. So we can close the training now. Thanks everyone. Hope you got something out of it. If you have any feedback, you can just let me know separately on how to do it, because I'll be doing this training once more for another team. Your valuable feedback will help me prune down something or add something. So thank you everyone. Hope you have a good day. All the best working in this kind of a org structure. Bye.
The material change.